Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashy Business Show. Today is Monday, July 7, 2025. I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Wed Ahmed, and we've got a packed show for you today. Firstly, we are going to spotlight how BCG, the American consultancy giant, is currently under fire for its role in the Gaza relocation alleged plan that is backed by Israel and the US, according to a Financial Times investigation. And secondly, these Qatari Syrian Tycoon brothers dairy giant Baladna is going to invest $250 million in Syria. Mohamed Alabbar's Americana is entering luxury food retail with Greek brand Carpo. And finally, Saudi Arabia's top 10 listed firms hit $2.1 trillion valuations led by Aramco.
And the very first story is very big. I don't know why Financial Times always finds a weekend to publish these reports. I think they think people have time to read like 4,000, 5,000 word reports. But Boston Consulting Group, we've done a lot of stories on them on our socials and everywhere, but this is kind of like an update, and it's a very big update. They are under intense scrutiny after a Financial Times investigation revealed it helped model a controversial aid and relocation scheme for Gaza. The firm had a multi-million-dollar role in setting up the Israel and US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF for short, which has been condemned by the UN, United Nations, and humanitarian groups for its militarized aid distribution model.
And BCG's involvement actually ran deeper than previously disclosed. Over 7 months, the firm modeled financial scenarios that included relocating more than 500,000 Palestinians from Gaza with packages worth $9,000 per person, a plan totaling around $5 billion. Now, BCG now says the work violated internal policies and blames 2 senior partners who were fired in June.
The project, codenamed Aurora, began as pro bono work for US security contractor Orbis, but later evolved into a paid contract through McNally Capital. Orbis's parent company, BCG Consultants, were deployed in Tel Aviv, advising on operations for GHF and its private security partner, Safe Reach Solutions, even as the operation moved further from traditional humanitarian principles.
And since launching in May, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution points guarded by Israeli forces and U.S. contractors have seen over 400 Palestinians killed while trying to access food. Now, the UN has described the operation that BCG is in charge of developing as a fig leaf for Israel's genocidal aims, and major NGOs refused to participate. Now, BCG eventually withdrew its team, canceled its invoices, and launched an independent legal investigation.
And now, a separate FT investigation, Financial Times investigation, reveals that the Tony Blair Institute also had a limited involvement in a related post-war Gaza plan. Tony Blair is a former British Prime Minister. A presentation seen by the Financial Times titled "The Great Trust" imagined Gaza transformed into a Trump Riviera and an Elon Musk smart manufacturing zone using BCG's financial models. The proposal included paying 500,000 Palestinians to leave. They'll give money to them to leave the country, their own country, their homeland. While the Tony Blair Institute did not endorse the final plan, 2 staff members took part in message groups and development calls.
I think with this story, what really stood out to me is the fact that they think that somebody would leave their home, Palestinians, not anyone, would leave their home for $9,000. Now, if you convert that to dirhams, that's about 30,000 dirhams. I mean, for some people, that is like their monthly salary.
Yeah.
For some people, 30,000 dirhams is their monthly salary. To not only to have the audacity to create a plan without the alleged approval of your company to move people out of their rightful home, but to give them $9,000 as if that will ever be enough. You know, you're not going to get your home. That honestly, in the world, that in the economy that we live in now, Majid, 30,000 dirhams, $9,000, you're going to run out of that very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's just a weird plan. This whole story about Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is so weird. Yesterday I was looking at a reel actually by TRT, and they put the GHF head on top of that reel, and down there it was all chaos that's happening in their humanitarian aid sites. I think they still believe that they're living in the 1980s or 70s, where there was no social media, no one could make a video and post it. And he was lying through his teeth. He was saying not one incident has been reported at a GHF site where there's violence. Not one person has been killed. It's a paid media propaganda scheme against GHF. He was defending GHF like he was defending his life. But at the same time, you see that TRT World reel, and they're showing videos of what actually is happening at those distribution sites. There's a lot of videos that have come out. Obviously, they're unverified, but still they're there, where Israeli soldiers are actually hiding behind the hills at those humanitarian sites, and they're killing people and laughing about it. Again, unverified videos, but there's so much content now out there from those humanitarian aid sites where people should go and get food and everything, but instead they're being killed, they're being ushered in like sheep, and they're just rolling over. There's a stampede every day because the system is so bad, so unplanned, so unprepared, because they don't have any experience in doing this.
I was actually reading somewhere that there was this report that basically said that the aid that is provided to Palestinians is injected with drugs.
Oh, not like injected. They have like capsules. There's this drug. I don't remember the exact name. It's a meth.
I don't remember the name either.
Something. But yeah, they crush those pills, white pills, and they're addictive, and they're crushing it. There's so much coming out.
But by the way, Majid, we did not mention this number. Let's go back to BCG, because I think that it's important to hold these big companies accountable. You know that apparently they had $4 million in contracts that were actually associated with this entire relocation plan. They had $4 million in contracts. They actually sent BCG consultants to operate in Tel Aviv. For me, where the question is how do they release a quote? How do they tell Financial Times that, we disavow this? We told them no. It does not make sense to me how an organization of that scale could have something of that scale going on and it be completely ignored. And honestly, I think that this entire story is posing the real question of, are these consultancy giants dying? They are, because we just saw what happened to PwC. Their advisory and their consulting services were banned in Saudi Arabia. Now we're seeing that BCG is coming up with plans to relocate Palestinians. I mean, these gigantic American consultancies, we can clearly see that they do not know how to consult the Arabs. If you want to take the Arabs out of their homes, why should you be giving advisory and consultancy services?
It's such a complicated web of this whole Gaza Humanitarian Foundation stuff is a complicated web, and then consultancies are a different whole together industry which are facing the reality that Arabs are not easy to fool. You can't just come in and make a good PowerPoint presentation or repurpose older presentation and just be like, okay, do this and you'll get better and do that. They're realizing that these people have money because they made money through actually doing business, not just sitting back and getting it from somewhere. So they have realized that it's a very real market which runs on real policies, real data, and also real ideas.
And human reasoning.
Yeah, and they can't just fool them into thinking, oh, we made this presentation, that this is a $500,000 bill that you owe us. Very good that the Arab industry, Arab people, Arab companies, they're becoming so smart that they know that they will not go for this BS. It's very simple in those words.
Yeah.
You can't make it clearer. It's not just me. You look at any big publication right now. Obviously, sometimes quote conventional media because sometimes they do good work, sometimes. But you go and you start reading about consultancy firms and how their downfall has started. And PwC is the biggest example, to be honest. Everyone is quoting them. And you realize that the days of fooling people on the basis of a PowerPoint presentation are over. at least in the Arab world, these people are smart.
No, but you
They've
know what,
earned their
Majid?
money.
I don't think it's even just about the fact of like fooling people through PowerPoint presentations. I think that we can all come up with a pretty good pitch deck. I think it's the fact that they don't have that regional understanding.
Yeah.
They don't have that, you know,
That
what
also
is.
contributes,
I think that that thought process of, you know, what is going on in Palestine is a genocide. You know, while it may come easy to people like you or me, it does not come easy to these Americans.
Yeah.
It certainly does not, and their way of thinking does seep through the way that they consult, and I think that is where the problem happened. But secondly, speaking of our Arab founders, Qatar's leading dairy producer Baladna is making a bold move into Syria with a planned $250 million investment. Now, this is its first major project in the country. Now, this announcement comes on the heels of a U.S. decision to lift key sanctions, signaling a potential economic opening for regional players. Now, what's interesting about this story is Baladna was founded by Qatari Syrian billionaire brothers Mohamed and Ramiz Al-Khayyat.
And Baladna's board has approved an industrial complex in Syria that will include dairy, juice, packaging, and water treatment facilities. The aim is to strengthen local food production and create job opportunities as Syria looks to rebuild its economy. This move forms part of Baladna's broader Middle East and North Africa expansion strategy.
Now, the company is also growing its presence in Africa. In Egypt, Baladna holds a 10% stake in dairy firm Juhayna and signed a $1.5 billion deal in 2023 to build a 20,000 cow farm expected to produce 300 million liters of milk annually. Now, in Nigeria, the company is eyeing similar growth opportunities.
And Baladna is a subsidiary of Power International Holding, a sprawling Qatari conglomerate with over 400 companies in 19 countries. PIH's portfolio spans energy, construction, healthcare, agriculture, and more, including firms like UCC Holding, Istithmar Holding, and Aura Group.
Now, the group has been active across emerging markets. In Libya, it began work on the Zaytun power plant in 2024, and in Kazakhstan, it recently acquired mobile telecom service LLP from Kazakhstan Telecom, a sign that PIH is betting big on frontier markets and shifting geopolitical winds. But you know, on this story, Majid, what is so interesting for me about these two brothers, Muhtaz and Ramiz Al-Khayyat, is that in fact, if you take a look at their story, basically in 2017, economic blockades were enforced onto Qatar. That meant that they lost 80% of their milk production, which they received from Saudi. Now, that is an extremely big problem. And that is where these Syrian brothers actually come into place. You know what they did? They actually transported 4,000 cows from America to Qatar, and they took a hold of the entire market. In fact, they produced 70% of the dairy milk in Qatar at that time, and I think for me the opportunity that they took, it is honestly so good. You don't actually see on their websites that they're Syrian, but they are. It's confirmed on many places. But I think for me, it's the fact that it was such a great opportunity to leap in and save Qatar, and the fact that now Qatar does not have to rely on milk exports, whether from the Jebel Ali port in the UAE or in Saudi Arabia. They rely on these brothers. And at that time, I even heard that in Sudan, there's this famous milk brand, Majid. It's called Halib Kabu. That's like our main,
Halib is doodh, right?
Halib is milk,
right?
But the company is called Halib Kabu, and they too, at that time, a lot of Sudanese insiders basically said that they provided milk to Qatar. But I think what these brothers did, it was such a great opportunity.
Yeah.
They leapt straight in, and they honestly saved the day. But even, by the way, when you do more digging and you take a look at it, they actually had a court case in London. Basically, these 8 Syrians, their names were not provided in the court documents. They came together and they actually sued them. They sued these two brothers, and they sued Doha Bank for supposedly providing funding to Al-Qaeda groups in Syria. So I think when you take a look at their history and everything that they've done, it's just completely interesting. It is. And I think for me, I feel very prideful when I see the fact that after everything that they have done, they are giving back to Syria immediately, just as the sanctions have been lifted. They're investing $250 million.
Yeah, the most important thing is she's given you a whole summary, but the important thing is Syria is recovering. One of the reasons I'm so happy about Syria is that it's setting an example for literally everyone. We see Lebanon going through a problem, Yemen going through a problem, Palestine is a big mess created by Israel. But at the end of the day, there is one country finally that we were talking about as soon as Bashar al-Assad was thrown out, he ran away. Everything that we've talking about was how will they go on a recovery path? What will be the idea? What will be the plan? And this is the plan. Syrians who have made it out of their country, they're coming back with investments. Maybe some of them eventually will come back and join the workforce. So human capital wise, they're returning. Soon enough, they will. Investment wise, they're returning. It's such a nice thing to see, to be honest, in this time of turmoil where everywhere you see there is a problem going on. But then you see a country which actually is coming back into the mainstream economy and growing. So I still believe that by the end of this year, they'll be in a much better place. And the next 2-3 years, if they keep going on at this pace, Syria would be unbeatable in this region. The thing that we talked about, I think 2 or 3 days ago on Friday or Thursday was they just have to find a balance. They have to bring in investment. They have to do everything. They'll take everyone's help. But don't just take help for the sake of taking help and being like owing one to US or Europe. Do it with a confident face and one step into the game as well. That we are giving you this or we're taking this from you, but in return you're getting access to this and this. So they just have to be confident in that it's a give and take relationship. It's not only that you'll keep giving me something and come and steal my resources or anything. So that part is a little tricky, and I think Amal al-Shara is smart enough to understand. I hope he is. But as far as I've seen, he is a smart person. Let's see.
But you know what it is also with this, Majid? I think it's the fact is here. You brought up the interesting, give and take policy. That's what I'm going to call it, and I think that is so important. But much more than that, they have to reduce reliance on that aid. While right now they are receiving a lot of help, which they do need from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, them paying off their $15 million World Bank debt, that is completely important. But I think the fact that we're seeing that Baladna is stepping into the country, we're seeing these investments, it is implying that this is not a country that is going to just rely on aid. It's not just going to stand behind its brothers in the Middle East and just take money from them, but rather, they're going to have their own investments, and it's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, and next up, we have Mohamed Alabbar. He's resurfaced after a lot of time. There was like 4 or 5 months where Mr. Alabbar literally disappeared from social media, right? But he's finally come back and he's making a big comeback. He's the chairman of Americana restaurants. Everyone knows him because of Emar, but he has a lot of businesses, and one of them is Americana. It's a leading and Americana is now the company is expanding into luxury food retail. Usually you see their brand on KFC, Pizza Hut, the mid-ranged food stuff, but now they're going to luxury food, Americana. They have KFC, Pizza Hut, TGI Fridays. I think Wimpy is also under them across the MENA region, and they've signed an exclusive franchise deal with premium Greek brand Carpo.
Now, Carpo, renowned for its artisanal chocolates, curated coffees, and gourmet nuts, will open flagship stores in Kuwait and Qatar by 2025. The rollout will continue into Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, marking a major strategic diversification for Americana beyond casual dining.
And this move reflects a shift to capture growing regional demand for experience-driven premium retail. The partnership with Carpo aligns with evolving consumer preferences, favoring quality products, storytelling, and luxury lifestyle offerings.
And Americana plans to replicate Carpo's success in Dubai by launching stores in upscale malls across the Gulf. Now, this expansion is part of the company's broader vision to transform from a restaurant operator into a curator of immersive, upscale food experiences, which we have seen people in the Gulf extremely love.
And with Mohamed Alabbar at the helm, Americana is strategically positioning itself to lead in the premium food retail segment, tapping into new market opportunities, focus on quality and luxury. This marks a key step in the company's ongoing innovation and growth journey.
You know what it is with this entire story, I think it's a very typical example of both of these companies are going to benefit. You know, you have Americana, it's going to get somebody else under its profile, you know, somebody from a higher luxury segment. And then for Carpo, what's going to happen for them is they have somebody who can support their expansion. You can have the plan and you can have the idea, but you need somebody to guide you, especially in a region like this. But you know, just on the topic of Mohamed Alabbar, right now he's on his summer vacation in Macedonia, and I think what is so interesting about this is, you know, I was speaking to Majid about this, and he was like, "Listen, it's just summer vacation." But like Majid, if you take a look at the table where he's on this boat, you can tell that his team is working. You know, everyone has their laptops on, and honestly, I honestly would love to see Mohamed Alabbar carry out a successful expansion into Europe, and one that is really strong, because I feel like we've seen it is, I don't want to say bad luck because I don't want to give him bad juju, but it's almost like we've seen this like this trend of things just not going the way that they're meant to for him. For example, we've seen it in Budapest. Basically, Mohamed Alabbar, according to the semaphore piece, he was trying to have this like mini Dubai there, but he got so much pushback from the officials, from the people there, that I'm not sure if it went ahead. And then another case is in Montenegro. So basically he leased these 9 beaches, I believe, and at some point he actually had to drop all of them. And you think that it's because of backlash from them, but it was actually backlash from the people of the UAE, who were like, some of us don't even have access to these expensive beaches. And you know, he came out with a statement. He was like, my heart is to the people, and he gave them up. So I think you know, it's going to be interesting to see what he does in Macedonia. Hopefully this time it will be extremely successful.
With Mohamed Alabbar, what I've realized is that Emaar is such a strong, big brand that he wants to build more brands like those. And we've seen that with Noon. Noon is a good product that he built. There's Eagle Hills. All these failed projects, or at least projects where he went in but had to pull out because Budapest city government were like, we can buy the land. So they have bought the land eventually. They didn't let Mr. Alabbar buy it at a premium. So he would have bought it at a bigger price. But the city gets the first right to buy the land. But I don't know if they'll be able to make up the money that is needed to buy it. That's a problem with them. But Eagle Hills, I think, still is one of the very undervalued brand that we don't talk about. Noon we always talk about, Emaar we always talk about, Americana we also cover a lot. Because the day we found out that
Majid, I think you're the one who is obsessed here. I feel like Majid loves Americana.
Whenever you put Alabbar's name or his brands anywhere, you get a lot of engagement because he's such a big personality. So Eagle Hills is one of the projects which is working at so many places, and I think Eagle Hills was the project that he started to invest outside, because any investment of Eagle Hills that you see is outside of UAE, be it renewing some, refurbishing new hotels or doing something, it's always outside. Just a very nice plan. For Emaar, he's in the UAE, that's his dominant market, 80 to 90% of the business. For outside markets, he went on, registered a company in Abu Dhabi, Eagle Hills, and he was like, you guys invest outside. Then you have Noon, then you have so many things that he's doing. He started a media house, Lana.
Oh yeah, Lana's newsroom. So, and not just that, even in Cairo. So he currently has a project with a company called Midar, I believe that is their name, and they're basically trying to renovate downtown Cairo, and it's a project that is believed to be $13 to $20 billion. So you can tell that his hands are extremely full, and because they're extremely full, some things may sometimes fall.
It's a good thing that he's trying to expand, and that you always come up with 1 or 2 short runs, but eventually out of all those runs you somehow complete
But
one
you
or
know
two.
what it also is? I think that with Mohamed Alabbar, he's done something really well for himself where he's portrayed himself as this luxurious person, and that is not just him as a personality,
Yeah.
but all of his investments.
Yeah.
So I think that what often happens is that it may not work in every market. Like for example, Mohamed Alabbar here, A'mar here, Burj Khalifa, this is a community that loves luxury. You know, the ultra wealthy here, there are many of them, but in places like Budapest, and that does not exist. So it may not. The projects, they might be, completely well thought out, planned, but they may not resonate with the people and what they stand for.
Yeah. And talking about Emaar, one of the listed companies on Dubai financial market, let's segue into the neighbors, Saudi Arabia. So there's a report out by Forbes, and it says that Saudi Arabia's 10 largest publicly listed companies have reached a combined market value of $2.1 trillion, according to Forbes Middle East. And leading the pack is obviously energy giant Saudi Aramco, valued at $1.7 trillion. The list includes major players across energy, banking, telecom, industrials, and utilities sectors.
So together, these firms generated $134 billion in net profits in 2024, highlighting the strength and resilience of the kingdom's capital markets. So this milestone underscores Tadawul Stock Exchange's position as the fastest growing market globally this year, with listings doubling in liquidity, up by 40%.
And Aramco remains the cornerstone of Saudi Arabia's economic influence, driven by record earnings and global expansion efforts. The list also features 5 leading banks, which have reported strong profit growth and continue to invest heavily in digital transformation.
So industrial giants such as Ma'aden and Sabiq are boosting non-oil exports, powering the kingdom's economic diversification under Vision 2030. Now the banking sector is similarly expanding its reach, scaling up digital services and regional partnerships to capitalize on new growth opportunities.
And lastly, looking ahead, these companies are broadening their international footprint through Sukuk issuances. Sukuk is Sharia-compliant bond, cross-border deals, and strategic investments. With ongoing reform, Saudi Arabia's corporate sector is poised to play an increasingly influential role in global capital markets. And the important part about this story is if you have a stake in Saudi Stock Exchange, these are the companies to look out for. For every market, you always have these big names. BFM, we just talked about. Emaar is the biggest one. If you want to go into that market, you have to go into Emaar if you have money, obviously. Share prices are very high. But it's good to see that Saudi Aramco is doing good, because everyone, every expert, every economic expert, finance expert will tell you Saudi Arabia's economy is somehow attached to Aramco. So it's a good thing that these markets are doing good. It's
I believe I think with Aramco, what I really love about them is that they have many arms.
Yeah.
One of them being Aramco Digital, and that is basically their artificial intelligence arm, which interestingly, Tariq Amin, the guy who is right now heading Humane, the leading artificial intelligence company in Saudi Arabia, used to lead.
Yeah.
He used to be the CEO there. And then they also have their other venture arm. I should really know the name, Majid.
Yeah, the venture capital arm is, I also forgot the name, but they have
We
multiple
always
things.
write about them. But
It's okay.
yeah.
There's so many that we always,
There is.
sometimes we can forget the names. But the good thing is these companies are doing good. We also talked about Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. If you've joined in the middle, you can go back, watch it on YouTube. The whole episode is there. It's on X.
Why Adventures.
Why Adventures?
Why
Yes.
Adventures. And that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the Smashy Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashy Business, and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
This has been a Smashy Business Show, a Smashy Business production, a part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to our 1.58 million monthly listeners. We're nearly there. We're at 1.6 million nearly, and soon we'll be at 2 million. But if you're one of them, we appreciate each one of you. As we say in Urdu, "Katre katre se darya banta hai." Every drop is important for the ocean. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.